Atheist Big Book Study, We Agnostics as It Could Have Been Written, by John S., written on September 22, 2014, and posted at weagnosticsaa.org. What if the fourth chapter of the Big Book, We Agnostics, had actually been written by atheists and agnostics? This is how I imagine it could have been. In the preceding chapters, you have learned something of alcoholism. We hope we have made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic. If, when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. If that is the case, you may be suffering from an illness which we believe only an entire psychic change will conquer. Earlier in this book, this change was described primarily with spiritual terminology, which may lead one to believe that recovery is out of reach for those of us with an atheist or agnostic worldview. Happily, we found this to be an erroneous conclusion. The principles outlined in this volume translate easily into secular language, and our psychic change is just as real to us as the spiritual experience is to those who believe in God. As first described by Dr. Carl Jung, our experiences were in the nature of huge emotional rearrangements and displacements. The ideas, emotions, and attitudes, which were once the guiding force of our lives, were cast to one side and replaced with an entirely new set of conceptions and motives. Our experience shows that this is possible for all alcoholics, regardless of their beliefs. If a mere code of morals or a better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism, many of us would have recovered long ago. But we found that such codes and philosophies did not save us, no matter how much we tried. We could wish to be moral, we could wish to be philosophically comforted. In fact, we could will these things with all our might, but the needed power wasn't there. We needed help. Our own individual resources were insufficient to free us from the trap we created for ourselves. We could not do it alone. That was obvious. But where and how were we to find help? Though we respect and honor the experiences of our more religious members, we agnostics and atheists do not believe this help comes from God. However, we find no conflict with those who choose to define their experience in spiritual terms. We share the believer's humbling admission of powerlessness over alcohol, and we recognize that we must seek help from a power that is greater than ourselves. For many of us who are agnostic or atheist, this power comes from the combined experience of our fellow alcoholics who preceded us in recovery. Some of us were bothered with the thought that asking for help was a weakness. We valued self-sufficiency, and we held a deep distrust toward other people. We looked askance at those who claimed to have all the answers and who knew with certainty what was best for us. Therefore, we often found ourselves handicapped by obstinacy, sensitiveness, and unreasoning prejudice. In fact, many of us have been so touchy that even the most casual reference that we may need help caused us to bristle with antagonism. This sort of thinking had to be abandoned. Though some of us resisted, we found no great difficulty in casting aside such feelings. When forced with alcoholic destruction, we soon became open-minded and willing to accept help. In this respect, alcohol was a great persuader. It finally beat us into a state of reasonableness. Sometimes this was a tedious process. We hope no one else will remain prejudiced for as long as some of us were. Many of us were also skeptical of the idea that people with our very illness could be of any help to us at all. Let us reassure you that as soon as we were able to let go of this prejudice and express even a willingness to believe that we could be helped, we commenced to get results. We became empowered, provided we took other simple steps which were not difficult as long as we adopted the right attitude. Our program of recovery is broad, roomy, all-inclusive, never exclusive or forbidding. It is open, we believe, to everyone. We need ask ourselves but one short question. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe, that I can find help in AA? As soon as one says that they believe or is willing to believe, we emphatically assure them that they are on their way. It has been repeatedly proven among us that upon this simple cornerstone, a wonderfully effective structure can be built. Atheist and agnostic readers may still ask why they should seek help in Alcoholics Anonymous. We think there's a good reason. As agnostics and atheists, we hold the view that our ideas should be informed by logic and reason. We believe truth is best discerned through observation, experience, and evidence. What possible logic would lead us to seek help from a group of drunks? Most of us have tried a variety of methods over a long period of time in an attempt to gain some degree of control over our drinking, and each attempt was met with failure. Some of us have tried to stop drinking alcohol completely, only to find that in this too we failed. This sad state of affairs brought us to complete desperation and a realization that we needed help. It did not satisfy us to be told that we required spiritual help or that we had to believe in an unseen God. It was important to us that our sobriety be grounded in reality. Here before us in AA, we can observe many thousands of men and women who were once just as hopeless as we were, but they are helping each other not only to stay sober, but also with other problems often made more acute by drinking. We can attend meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous and watch with our own eyes as others find recovery and recreate their lives. As we listen to other alcoholics, we realize that we share a common problem, but more importantly, we have found a solution in AA. Through direct experience, we have learned that together with other alcoholics, we can achieve what we could never have done on our own. We have tapped into a power outside of ourselves and greater than ourselves that many of us identify as the power of good that is generated from one alcoholic helping another. We may never know how this works or how effective it is at addressing the problem of alcoholism as a whole, but we do know that it works for us, and the support we provide one another in Alcoholics Anonymous is very real.